All right, so it was important for me that in my book, I allow other children, African-American children, Caribbean children, to have pictorial representation of themselves.
Your book is the perfect spark to get the fire going in your personal life, career, business, or ministry. Light that book spark today with Bamboo Sparks, a global independent publishing services and publishing education and training business for transformation. Bamboo Sparks will take you from manuscript to market faster than you thought possible and even manage the process for you. Check out their 3 main offerings: the Self-Publishing Spark, the Rocket Writing Spark, and their Bamboo Sparks done-for-you management deals for authors in the Caribbean and the diaspora. Discover how Bamboo Sparks can help you to publish and leverage your book to grow 90 feet tall at bamboosparks.com, and that's bamboo with a U.
Today we're focusing on being creative, and with me is a prolific children's book author. She is Greta Alves Malcolm, a Jamaican living in the Cayman Islands with her husband. She has a diploma in early childhood education and is presently pursuing her bachelor's in education. She has taught at the early childhood level for over 8 years, both in Jamaica and in the Cayman Islands, and is currently teaching at the high school level. She is a curious and proactive part-time author who is interested in preserving the lives of future generations by inspiring them to aspire to their fullest potential. She has published 7 children's books, including her best-selling book, Sleepy Time. Her first book, I Am Smart After All, is published both in Spanish and English and in audiobook format. Greta believes motivation fuels success and is committed to ensuring that every child is motivated through her books to achieve their fullest potential. Welcome to the summit, Greta.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here.
It is my honor to have you. Last year, when we started the summit, we had no children's book author. In fact, I hadn't started publishing children's books. Folks kept asking every week, do you publish children's books? I kept saying no, because to me, children's books, you know, it requires special understanding, and it was very different from regular nonfiction. But then I got the courage to venture into this path. But it's not about me, it's about you today. So talk to us. How did you get into writing and publishing children's book? Talk to us about that journey, how it all started.
So my journey in starting I began writing children's book in 2018, and that was on a quiet Saturday evening. I was relaxing, and as I relaxed, I reflect on some past experiences. There was a particular experience that got me quite emotional, and this experience I had a few years ago, where I worked in an institution, and everything I do was discredited. I was talked down to. You can just imagine as an adult, as a trained person, how you felt. It got so bad to the point where I lost confidence in what I do. Whenever I do something, I maybe go to somebody to seek some approval. Is it okay? What do you think? And at one time I began, my self-worth was belittled as well. I felt as if I couldn't go on. However, as I reflected that evening, I was also giving God thanks that He had brought me out of that situation. And as I think about the Lord taking me out of that situation, or He took me out of the situation, He did it so well that I didn't have to fuss or fight with anybody. It was just a smooth transition. I said to myself, motivation and encouragement are powerful weapons that when applied to other people's lives can be beneficial. At that point, I thought about writing a book of my past experience. as I pondered writing the book that evening, I went to the computer and I started a little thing, typing up, and then at first I said, oh, let it be persons, let it be animals. And I started with some rats, and then I said, oh, I remember a past principal I had, she was saying like, God creates such beautiful people and everything you say, rats do and cats and animals. So I said, let me change it. So that was when I Am Smart After All was born. I started typing, and persons might wonder why children and not an adult, since the experience was with, I had worked with adults. And number one, I understand that bringing positivity into the classroom, into the children's life, when children are negatively impacted by their environment, by actions of others, by negative words, they internalize things and they don't quickly speak out as adults do. Hence, I say to myself that I would write for children. I prefer to write to modify my story to best suit children who are affected and need a word of encouragement or motivation or someone to inspire them, and said, I want to be that person. And that's when I started writing. And my first book, I Am Smart After All, was born.
Wow, that's a very inspiring story, Greta. And wow, I am inspired. So now you are writing to motivate children to achieve their fullest potential so that they can believe in themselves, irrespective of what others would say to them.
Irrespective of how others feel about them, irrespective of what others say, they can achieve if they only believe in themselves.
All right. So your first book was I Am Smart After All. Then you have this best-selling book here, Sleepy Time, bedtime stories with quick prayers. Can you tell us the story behind this book? And I noticed that it was published in 2020, but it's still on the Amazon hourly bestseller list after all that time. It's number 84 in children's African folk tales. For persons who are wondering, what does it mean? If you look on this chart here and you click on it, it says Amazon bestsellers or most popular products based on sales updated hourly. Now, bear in mind that her book was published in August 2020. And so if you scroll all the way down, she's number 84. Go to the next page, you will see this. And this is how you get to see if you're on the bestseller list updated hourly. So let's scroll all the way down. There it is. Sleepy Time, and it has that little orange thing, and it's been there for a while. So what's the story behind Sleepy Time, Greta? And then walk us through the other 5 books.
As a God-fearing woman, and I want to impart all my knowledge, experiences that I have garnered over the years to other persons, other parents. And in our society today, we realize that children tend to be moving farther away from what we were grown up in. So you have your Bible at school and you can sing a hymn and you pray and that sort of thing. And I said to myself, for those persons who aren't aware of what it is to bring your children up in the fear of the Lord, as well as you are, then I want to extend this to them. And even to let children be aware that simple prayers, the Lord is real and you can pray to him. You don't have to say a long prayer with pretty words. As simple as, dear God, help me to be as kind as Ruth, is a simple prayer that a child can say. These stories are a collection. This book is a collection of stories with prayers to reinforce and teach good manners, caring attitudes, and kind words. And it will also help parents to instill good morals and values. So these stories are short stories. And if you read them to your children, I am sure they'll be benefited from them. Sleepy Time, bedtime story. There it is. All right. And now Sleepy Time was my fourth book. So the second book was Abby, Love Without a Cause. Abby, Love Without a Cause is for girls age 8 to 12 years old. It's a story about a city girl who stands up for a bullied village girl and won her friendship. The story will help children deal with negativity and bullying, and it will help them to build positive attitudes, show love, kindness, and care for others. The book also includes activities. So apart from Sleepy Time and I Am Smart After all the other books have activities at the back of them. Activities that will develop math skills, comprehension skills, language skills, and creativity skills. And that's Abby, I'm Smart After All. The book, If I Keep Trying, I Know I Can. That book was born out of a little girl that, as I teach at a kindergarten, I watch her try to do hula hoop. She would come to that playground every day and she would try, and her friends would laugh, it fall from her hip and she couldn't keep it up. But her real name is not Beth. But she keeps trying. She was determined to do that hula hooping. And I tell you that after a while, she began to get it staying there. And she moved from one little twirl to another until finally she was just going as if she was a hula hoop. And I remembered and I said, you know what? I'm going to convert that in a story. Because even though she did not say it in words. So Bella, is a little girl who was determined to learn how to do hula hoop and discover that if at first she don't succeed, she should try again. And so you should try and try again. And this inspiring story will help children believe in themselves, work hard, and be consistent in achieving their dreams. This book also contains activity to reinforce grammar, mathematics, and other lessons.
Okay.
My fifth book, It Wasn't Goldilocks, was written for children ages 5 to 8 years. And it's a twist on the traditional story that many of us know, Goldilocks and the Three Bears. However, it's about a family of cats who learn that they should be careful how they judge others. And it will help children think positively about others instead of being judgmental. This book also contains puzzles, activities, coloring pages, and mazes. And my sixth book that was published late last year, which was November last year, is a children activity book for children 4 to 8. It has an integrated approach and it has 80 plus activities to stimulate, develop, and enhance children's critical thinking, problem solving, comprehension, mathematical, and reading skills. So you can all go out and get my books. They're there. And I'm sure you'll benefit from them and your children as well.
All right. Thank you for giving us an overview of your book. So the question is, how do we come up with ideas for children's stories?
Okay, some of the things that you can bear in mind for children's story, you have to think about your ideation. Is it an idea from a movie? Is it from an experience? Is it from a book you read? Is it from a blog you read? Is it from somebody else's story? Or is it just that you have an innate thing that tells you that you need to write about this? So that is your idea. And it comes up, and your idea is what will drive your writing process in that book. So first, you have to get your ideas, ensure what your ideas are. Some persons have to think about the genre, whether it is going to be a memoir, it is going to be a children's book, it is going to be a mystery book, it is going to be an educational material, a literature. So you have to think about these things. So what your idea is what will inspire what you write. My experience was what inspired what I wrote for I Am Smart After All. That was my experience in a nutshell.
Do you have to write with an age group in mind? Because I think
Yes.
when it comes to children's book, that is something. And I noticed that in your books, for example, in describing them, you talked about activity and catering to different things. So is that something that aspiring authors of children's books need to bear in mind? Talk to us about what are some of the things they need to consider after being inspired.
So after being inspired, you have to think about your characters. You have to think about, as I said before, what inspires you. Your drawing of the book that you're going to be writing. Is it important? Your drawing is very, very important. It is the blueprint of writing. So if you're writing children's book, it will help you choosing your characters. It will help with the length of the story, the setting, the plot, that sort of thing. It helps you to think whether or not is this for this age group. So you know if you're choosing for your age group, your idea will maybe for age 4 to 6, and you can't write that story for children 9 to 12. So it is really the blueprint for writing your story. You also need to think about your target readers. So you think about your characters, the length of the story, because for children, the story, I think, let's say 62 pages, depending on your age group, the settings, the plot, and you also want to think about your target reader as children. Age group between who's going to buy the book. The children don't go to the store to purchase book. So their parents, the grandparents, their aunts, their nieces, nephew, uncle, grandparents. And you also want to think about the key message. What message do you want to pass on to your readers? What you want them to walk away with at the end of reading your book? All right. And you also, apart from reading, what they want to walk away with is the book is going to have a moral to it. And then, you know, for children, you can't have these stiff characters. You have your main character who tell the story, and your supporting character who work with the main character to bring your story to life and to bring your point across. So you have to think about that. Don't forget, for children book, you also need a budget. Vitally important. For me, I can tell you I didn't have a budget for the first one, and my thing was way over the top. The others, I realized that working with a budget is the best way to go. So you must remember that you need a budget. When you're thinking about your illustration, for me, growing up in the Caribbean, I seldom find books when I was growing up with children illustration that looks anything like me. All right, so it was important for me that in my book, I allow other children, African-American children, Caribbean children, to have pictorial representation of themselves. Hence, in my quest to find an illustrator, I searched for individuals who could bring this vision alive. So my book, I Am Smart After All, was illustrated by a young man in Jamaica, a talented young man. Everybody sees the book once, sees his number, but he's so busy. And the other books, I outsourced them. So I have persons in India. I have another person that comes from someplace in Europe that illustrates for me. However, the important thing is to think about what your illustration should represent and your characters, what you want your characters to be doing and what they should be representing in your story. And then you can go ahead with your illustration. Another key thing I think about is are you going to be a self-publisher? And this is going to tie into your budget as well. Are you going to be a self-publisher? Sorry. Are you going to get someone to publish for you? You have all these things. And don't forget that in writing your book, one of the tips is that you need to have a calendar with your timeline that you want to say, well, I want to finish this book in a month, 2 months, 3 years, 1 year, and set dates and times for writing. And I always say to a person, don't write and edit at the same time. I did that and it just confuses you. Some of the very important things that you should have, you deleted it because you're trying to do everything at the same time. I write everything, maybe this week and the next 2 weeks, I jump back at it and I go through again and I edit and I put in and I take out what I don't want until I come to my draft and I'm feeling satisfied that this is what I want before I send to my editors. So these are some of the tips that aspiring children authors can and must think about.
All right, so we got a comprehensive look there in terms of illustration. She said she wanted illustrations that represented her people, Caribbean people, African American, and her illustrator, one of her illustrators from Jamaica, but she has illustrators from, I think you said
India
India
and
and
other
Europe. So
places.
basically it's getting an idea of the kind of illustration that you want, and then finding persons. But how did you go about getting these persons? Is it another author recommended the person? Did you go through Upwork, Fiverr? How did you get these illustrators? Because I get calls from time to time. Can you recommend an illustrator? How did you go about finding your illustrator?
So I outsource a portion of my writing process. And so my editor is the persons that I outsource to. So when I'm giving her, depending on what my package is at the time, I'll say, well, for this book, you can take it from editing to preparing it for publish. So illustrator, and she will say to me, well, what do you want? I said, well, on page 15, I'll take a girl that is running around, a boy who's jumping in the hole, or on there I want a tree with a child looking depressed under the tree. And that sort of information I'll pass on. So honestly, my editor is the person who sourced these illustrators, send me their catalog, and I go through and say, well, yes, I think we can use this one, or I think we can't use this one.
Awesome. And if you have a publishing coach, that person can do that. Are you at liberty to share who your children's book editor is? Does she want more work?
She is a sweet, sweet, loving, very extremist person when it comes to editing. She dots her I's and she crosses her T's, and everything must be in perfect order. And her name is Marsha Malcolm. Mrs. Marsha Malcolm, and she lives in Jamaica.
Awesome. So there you have it. If you're into children's books, you can also come to Bamboo Sparks because we are also doing children's books. But check out Marsha Malcolm if you like Greta's work. And we're going to look at Greta's work again just to have a look inside some of those books. All right. So if you are impressed with the illustrations that Greta's editor has helped her to get, then you can reach out. One of the things though, in looking about an illustrator, just look on the cover of the children's book, because children's books, the cover normally tells you who the illustrator is. So you see illustrated by Partha Duta, or
yes,
I can't pronounce that last name and I don't want to destroy the person's surname, but you can also go to the copyright page. The illustrator oftentimes is also on that page, and look at these. So if you like these illustrations, then you could use the same illustrator. What you want to do is go on Amazon and you look at the children's books that you like, and then you look at the cover and the name of the illustrator should be there. And if you've done your publishing right on Amazon and you've registered with Amazon Author Central, then you can click and find out more about the author. And sometimes there's a contact there that you can contact the author and you can reach out to them. And we want to encourage all our authors who are writing to leave some contact in the book so that the readers can get in touch with you. So that's a good way to find an illustrator if you want to write a children's book and you don't know where to turn. So you kept mentioning the budget. So what does the budget look like, especially for illustrations? Because I know illustrations are the most expensive part of the process very often. Give us an average. You don't have to tell us what you paid, but on average, how much should an author, a children's author, budget as it relates to getting the book illustrated, or just the entire publishing budget? Give us a range. How much are we working with?
So I'm working with 400 US for the entire publishing budget. All right, what I do realize, however, is that it depends on the size of the pictures, that the illustrations that you want. So if you're doing, the prices varies as half page, quarter page, full page. So it depends on what size illustration you have. For me, for my books that I have, like a full page, some full pages and half pages, and you're looking on somewhere anywhere between 150, 125. For books that are full page and they're all black and white, they were like $80, $90 for illustration, even though some pages were full page. So it depends on the size illustrations that you want. I have never had a book that I do entire full page throughout. So I'm not quite sure, but as I said, my budgets are like $450, and $450 is really high, but $4 the most.
Is
And
that for the entire publishing process or just your illustrations?
That's for everything, the entire process.
Well, Greta, then we need to come and sit at your feet, because $450 alone very often is the formatting, because there are formatters who charge per page, like it's $5 per page. And so if your book is 50 pages, that's gone. So it's $400. It sounds like our aspiring authors need to come and sit at your feet to learn those secrets, Greta. How do you do it? I guess you have to contact Greta off the air and she will share those secrets with you, so you can publish your children's books on a budget. And when you join the Authorpreneur Secrets Academy, we help you to also get your books published on a budget, as some of our authors have done.
And I want to say as well that sometimes, to be honest, sometimes it's not all of the pictures are from the illustrator, because I have this thing that I bought online that I can utilize those pictures as well.
Good. So she just gave you a big tip to cut down on your cost. You can purchase certain pictures, because you may have a picture cost $10, $12, $5, as well as you can find royalty-free illustrations, as long as you give attribution. So those are some of the tips.
And sometimes they do have bulk where you can get 100 for a certain amount, so you have them to use all year long.
Awesome. Awesome. So Greta just released gold on you, how you manage to keep the cost down. And this is good, because the Authorpreneur Summit has come out of the book Authorpreneur Secrets, which is about write fast, publish affordably, and generate lasting income. So part 2 of the book is about how to publish on a budget. And so that is part of what we want to push on this summit, to give you the cost-effective ways of publishing without breaking the bank. I want to get to, before we close this interview, Greta, talk to us about how you've used your children's books and how do you go about selling children's books, because that sometimes is the challenge that many authors have. So how do you use the books now that they've been published, and how do you go about getting books sold?
All right, how I use the book. I started little less than a year, maybe about 8 months now. Story time with Auntie Greta on a Saturday evening at 4:30 for children. And so I would read story from the book. We have a little question and answer segment afterwards. And from that, parents become interested with the stories, especially from the bedtime stories, and they would order a book or can get a book sell. The other thing I do about selling the books, which thanks to you, Ruth, I went to my preschool in my areas and I promote the books to them, and they purchase some, encourage parents to purchase after they find value in them. And that is how and presently I am putting together a literacy club, and it's going to be a virtual one. So parents out there, listen up. I'll soon be sending you an email telling you all about it and how your children can join and be a part of this literacy club. In selling a book, I might just, to be honest, I'll recommend the book. So I'll go someplace and I see a child that look as if, well, things not so bright, they're not happy, maybe they're not on par with their friends and something, and I'll pull a parent and say, I have a book that can motivate that child. But to be honest, I'm not a quote unquote good marketing person, but I try.
Well, you are doing creative marketing, and I love the strategies that you have used. And that is a standard. That is what I would encourage authors to do, whether it's children's book authors or regular nonfiction, is to create some kind of program or initiative around your book. Because if you can show persons how your book will solve a problem, then they'll be interested in getting the product. So tie a problem to the product, make your product the prescription, and then you will stir interest and share it, and it won't even feel like marketing. I don't even like using that word sometimes because authors get all bent out of shape, but it's about helping people to see that what you have is valuable, it can inspire, it can solve a problem, and you just create some kind of initiative around that will sell the book over time. So Greta, you are doing an amazing job. I like that story time. It means that any of your books can be read there. Yes. The literacy thing that can go well with, you said the last set of books you created had activities with critical thinking and different things. And I just want to say congratulations. I love that. So as we bring this interview to a close, for aspiring children's authors who need some direction or want to just get in touch with you, parents who want to buy your books, where can we find out more about you and access your books apart from Amazon?
All right, so as you said, yes, apart from Amazon, you could go to my website, which is www.brilliantmindsbookden.com, or you could go to my Facebook page, Brilliant Minds Book Den, or to my Instagram page, Greta.Malcolm, or to my YouTube channel, Brilliant Minds Book Den again. And if you're in Jamaica and you want to purchase a book, you can call 876-329-6434.
I'm Tamara Francis, educator and editor. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, and share the podcast with your network. If you'd like to increase your impact and income with books, visit authorpreneursecrets.com for more resources, including the books Pen It to Win It and Authorpreneur Secrets. Join the Authorpreneur Secrets Academy membership group for courses, coaching, and community support to write, publish, and win with books. Until next time, go pen it to win it.